Hi, welcome to episode 44 of The Kitchen Sink, my weekly vlog. I'm Eric J. Barkman, and today I'll be talking about last week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. titled Seeds. But first, we have some interesting bits of casting news and rumors for upcoming Marvel movies. First of all, for Avengers Age of Ultron coming out next year in May, Thomas Kretschmann? Something like that, has been cast as Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. For those of you unfamiliar with him, he is a former Nazi who went on to form the modern day version of Hydra, so we'll see exactly how they play that in the movie verse. From what I'm hearing, they're going to be fighting him near the beginning of the movie as kind of an opener before dealing with the Ultron stuff. Moving forward, for the Ant-Man movie, Michael Pena has reportedly been cast. This is famous.com is saying that he'll be playing a character named Castillo, who is a fictional version of Fidel Castro and will be the villain in the portion of the movie set in the 1960s. Speaking of this is famous.com, they're also reporting that Doctor Strange will be played by John Hamm. This is interesting as Doctor Strange hasn't been fully 100% confirmed by Marvel yet. It's pretty much a given for Phase 3, but they haven't officially stated it. And meanwhile, while they're reporting John Hamm, Latino Review is reporting that Doctor Strange will be played by Johnny Depp, while Variety is reporting that Doctor Strange will not be played by Johnny Depp. Now, it's too early to tell any which way, as we don't even know when exactly the movie is coming. So we'll just have to wait and see. Over on the TV side of things, the rumored Agent Carter series is looking more and more likely, as Deadline is reporting that Tara Butters and Michelle Fazekas are going to be executive producers and writers on the series. But enough about news. As for last week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we finally got some answers to Sky's past. Oh, almost forgot. Obligatory spoiler warning is in effect, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, tune out unless you don't mind spoilers. So we finally got a bit of information on Sky's past. It's not exactly surprising, but also not exactly 100% expected either. It's kind of one of those things that you wouldn't have quite predicted. You might have figured out some of the basics, but you wouldn't have predicted everything 100%, but it makes sense when you learn it. Meanwhile, we've also got another character from the comics introduced. Donnie Gill, the student in the episode who was the one that created that freezing machine thing. He is a character from the comics, a supervillain, second villain to go by the name Blizzard. He was an Iron Man villain and later a member of the Thunderbolts. He initially used a suit that gave him ice-related powers, but eventually after it was destroyed, he was later on exposed to the Terrigen mists and got actual ice-related powers. Donnie Gill in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as you saw at the end, was starting to manifest ice-related powers, which means he's likely headed down a path of becoming Blizzard. Interesting thing to note is much like an earlier instance of character from the comics getting superpowers with Dr. Franklin Hall, Graviton in the earlier episode. Both cases, the characters were working with Ian Quinn. Now, in both cases, the characters weren't purposely powered by Ian Quinn, as it was more they were working on tech for him, something went wrong, and they ended up getting powers. However, we now know that Ian Quinn is working for or with, or at the very least, that he knows the clairvoyant. Which, assuming the clairvoyant really is clairvoyant, these powering up of characters may not be quite so accidental. We'll have to see how that works out going forward. Ian Quinn is going to be showing up again in the next episode, titled t.r.a.c.k.s. Well, it's like an acronym, t.r.a.c.k.s, so on, so on. However, the episode isn't going to be for a couple of weeks until February 4th, so we'll have to wait for that. Stan Lee is going to be showing up in that episode, though, so definitely make sure to check that out. And speaking of people showing up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Sif, Lady Sif from the Thor movies, will be showing up later this season. And also, apparently they're going to be introducing the character of Agent John Garrett for at least 4 episodes this season. For those of you who don't know, John Garrett was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that became a cyborg in the comics. So, it should be interesting to see how that goes. And that's pretty much it for today. So, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on anything I've talked about here. Thumbs the video up if you like it. Thumbs it down if you don't. And don't forget to subscribe. And have fun.